Marie, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And just to let people know who are watching, this is a live, obviously, so there will be a lot of waffle in it. I know some people who watch my channel don't like the waffle. You're best to wait then until I split the video into smaller videos without the waffle, because I will be doing that afterwards, because we're going to talk about quite a few things. In this live, there'll be the usual waffle. I'll be telling you about sort of members and, these kind of things. And I know a lot of people just want to watch the information about whichever case we're talking about. So just to let you know that there will be waffle. If you don't like the waffle, best thing to do is probably not watch this live and wait until I release the shorter videos. But anyway, for people who don't know me at all, my name is Vicky Marie. I am based in mainland Spain, I talk about crime from all over the world, really, but mainly from the UK, from Spain, from Australia, and from America, or anywhere in Europe. But really, any case that I think deserves our attention, because normally because the victim needs a voice, if you like. That's normally the reason that we discuss cases, or if cases are particularly interesting or unusual, those kind of things. They're the cases that we follow, aren't they? And in this particular video, we are going to talk about three main cases. I'm going to talk about some other things as well. But I think I'm going to start off talking about Rachel Morin. This lady, we've had the sentencing of the person who brutally murdered Rachel a couple of years ago, assaulted and murdered her, and he's been sentenced. And we're going to have a little look at that because I haven't looked at it in any detail. We're going to look at that. I think we're going to look at that first. Then we're going to look at the case of John George. We're going to revisit the case of John George. I know I'll have a picture of John here somewhere. Maybe I didn't upload it. Let's see. Got a picture up to put. I put the smaller picture. So this is John George, and John George was actually murdered right here in Spain on the Orihuela Costa, and his case will be coming up soon. And one of the witnesses from his case, say witnesses, not to the actual murder, I don't think, but, someone who was supposed to give evidence, just sort of lost the plot, really, and we're going to talk about that. But now it turns out that they have given themselves up to a prison in Ireland, because John George is from Northern Ireland, although he was murdered in Spain. And I think that will be good for the case of John George, for the trial, because otherwise that person is a drug addict. So it was increasingly difficult for him to be pinned down to give evidence, especially as well in a foreign country, language barrier, etc. So we're going to look at that, how now he's in a prison in Northern Ireland, and will that be a good thing for the actual case of John George if this guy, Dan McMeekin, cleans up his act, and will that help them when it comes to the actual trial of the alleged murderers of John George? So we're going to talk about that. And also we're going to talk about this girl, Amy Fitzpatrick. Now, we've covered this case several times. Amy was only 15 when she went missing. And again in Spain, although she is Irish, she was living in Spain with this woman, her mum, and also her stepfather. And she went missing. She was only 15 years old in Mijas Costa in the south of Spain. Now, near Malaga, not far away from Malaga. Now, I have some things going on behind the scenes here with this, I just want to tell you. But the news that I want to give you, we're going to talk about her mum a little bit, who is currently, apparently, extremely ill. in hospital. And the stepfather, Dave McMahon, has said it'd be a miracle for her to survive. A miracle. And it turns out that actually quite a long time ago, she was told that she would need a liver transplant. And we're going to look at that anyway. And we're going to have a little brief overview over the case of Amy. Where is Amy Fitzpatrick? What happened to her? Personally, I do believe she's probably not on this earth anymore. I think that Amy is likely deceased. But what happened to her? People don't just disappear into thin air, do they? And her remains have never been found. So where is Amy? And we're going to talk about her mum and her stepdad, and also her brother, because he came to a very gruesome end as well. And he was actually, well, they say it wasn't red rum because he walked onto the knife, but in a dispute with the stepfather, Amy's brother also was killed. I don't know that Amy was killed by his stepfather. And the stepfather has served his time in prison. He's out now. Didn't serve much time in prison. He said it was an accident that Amy's brother walked onto the knife. It wasn't red rum. It was self-defense, etc. So now, if anything happens to Amy's mum, there's only going to be the stepdad left out of that family. So we're going to just have a look at that and a little talk about it. What does that mean? Poor Amy's mum, because if she does die, she'll be dying not knowing what's happened to her daughter. Or does she, like a lot of people unfortunately do think, does she know what happened to her daughter? I don't know. I'm not saying that she did or she didn't. But something happened to Amy, didn't it? Something happened to her. So those are the three main things we're going to be talking about. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the wildfires in Spain, because quite a lot of people, thank you so much for caring about me. Because, of course, I'm in Spain, and in Spain at the moment, we've got a lot of wildfires. There's been one fatality, and we're going to talk about those wildfires just a little bit. What do you make of all this? And you know what? They think that most of them would deliberately set. Who would do that? It just seems to me, who would deliberately set a wildfire? It's just disgusting. All the animals that have probably perished in these wildfires, just horrible. Some people, honestly, you just think, what is wrong with these people? Anyway, they think several of them, if not all of them, have been deliberately started. Is it like a political statement? Pedro Sanchez, the prime minister, is not a president prime minister. He's not that popular. Well, he's popular with 50% of the population, but not the other 50%. It's Spain is just like most countries at the moment. There's like two camps for everything. Are these like political statements, to wind up the government? I mean, it seems like a bit extreme, doesn't it? Especially when you think about the animals that you'd be hurting. That's what we're going to start off talking about. And then probably at the end, after talking about all these things, there's an Australian case that I want to talk about where a couple were found red-rummed, murdered, and the woman was actually pregnant, bless her. So that's two people in one. The culprit is murdered, and I believe that the man, the partner, his head was, what is it about removing heads and put on a spike? This like, you just think, what? Anyway, they do have the person. They have arrested the person that they think is responsible. But we're going to have a look at that. I haven't even put that on the thumbnail. There's, in this crazy world, there's always something to talk about, isn't there? I've got lots of other things as well, but, I don't want to be rambling on for hours and hours. Though I probably will end up rambling on for hours and hours. So make sure you've got your cup of tea, got your provisions, got whatever you need, packet of crisp or whatever to listen to me waffling on for a while. So I'm going to start with thank yous. Thank you so much for watching, for subscribing. A very special thank you to my members. Why not become a member? This Thursday in Members Live, we're going to be having a music quiz and a disco, I think. I'm going to work out how I can do it, avoiding the copyrights. Well, I can't avoid the copyrights and things, but as long as I don't want them interrupting the live. Sometimes when you start playing songs or things that are copyrighted, YouTube interrupts the live, and I don't want that. So I might have to record the songs and everything beforehand. Anyway, that's Thursday night in the Members Live. Every Thursday we have an exclusive Members Live. And the reason for this is because it's my birthday this weekend. So I'm going to have a look. I won't be, on over the weekend. Very unlikely, because it is my birthday weekend. But I thought Thursday night we'd have a little party in Members to kick off the birthday celebrations. So I hope, if you're a member, I hope you'll join us. And if you're not a member yet, why not become a member? So that's membership. What else did I want to say? Oh, so thank you to all of you that have bought me a Ko-fi or sent me a super sticker. Don't forget the shop, the Vicky Marie Chat shop is on the Ko-fi link. And there are some items on there if you feel like buying any merchandise. I've just added I mean, not that you probably want to look at Erin Patterson in the morning when you're having your coffee, but it will remind you, of course, to just be careful who prepares your coffee in the morning. Maybe you'd be better off preparing your own coffee, because I have just put a mug on there. I'm going to get one of those, definitely. What else? So, yeah, thank you to everyone who's bought merchandise from the shop. Thank you to anyone who's PayPal'd me, or if you've sent me a nice email or left a nice comment. Thank you so much for any way you participate positively in my channel. I just want to show you this. This is how it is here in Spain at the moment. Yeah, just stepped outside to see if it's hot. It's like, oh my goodness, so hot. It's 35 degrees at the moment. It's only 10 to 12. So, it's already, yesterday it reached 41 degrees on my computer. This is basically how it feels at the moment in Spain. Now, I know a lot of people are experiencing hot weather, even in countries where you don't normally. So, I don't know. Is it just because it's summer? Is it climate change? I don't know. What else am I going to say? So, I want to say hello to my lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. My lovely lurkers are the people that like to watch but don't like to join in the chat. Hello to my loathsome lurkers. And now I'm going to come into the chat and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to venture into the chat. Right. Hi, Westside. Hi, David. Hi, Bluebell. How's Devon? I think you've got the sun there, haven't you? I'm not sure, but I think you have. Hi, Darren. Hi, Geordie. Yeah, some people like the waffles, some people don't. Yeah, got to have a little bit of waffle, haven't you? Oh, Bluebell, I hope your migraine gets better soon. Hi, Miss Lee. Hi, Lisa. Now, So let's just start. I just want to show you these wildfires in Spain. It is very scary. It is very scary. Luckily for me, I'm not in an area where there are a lot of woods and things like that. That tends to they tend to be more in the north. But there are like isolated fires, though. Having said that, in every region, because of just the fact it's so dry, etc. It's easy only takes someone to chuck a cigarette or have a barbecue. And as I say, some people apparently are starting these fires on purpose for some unknown reason. It doesn't take much to light them up because everywhere is so dry. But they tend to be in a lot of areas in the south. They just tend to be smaller, easier to control, easier to put out because there's not so many forests and things like that. But when it's in the north, of course, it's a different matter, isn't it? So let's just have a look at some videos. And there has been one person died, unfortunately. A volunteer like a volunteer firefighter, if you like. So I think it's worse like in Leon and those sort of places. So a lot of these are in Spanish that are coming up, of course. But the thing is, to see the video, it doesn't matter if you speak Spanish or not, does it? Just want the video. I mean, it's terrifying, isn't it? But all the animals there, you just think, fire is such a terrifying thing, isn't it? So this is Castellon. This is where they have the worst fires. But there's even been fires, Madrid, the capital, close by to houses. People have had to be evacuated, etc. It is bad. And to be honest, there doesn't seem to be any relief coming because I don't think we've got any rain expected. Makes me laugh how they're called the bombers. So this is Leon, which is up in the north of Spain. They're worse in the north. God. I mean, they really take their lives in their hands, don't they? Bless them.
Vale, Jesús.
God. Fun, isn't it? It's fire. It's a very beautiful thing, isn't it? But it's so deadly, so difficult to control. But I'll tell you what, if these fires have been started deliberately, I know they've arrested one woman, a woman. I hope they get a really big penalty. This is just a terrible thing to deliberately light these fires, isn't it? So while this video is playing, I'm just going to see if I can find out anything that I can read you out. So there's fire alerts all over the place. Load, it's just, and people have been evacuated in Tarifa. Oh, let's have a look what the BBC say, actually. It's the same video. So this is another place, Mentrida, where People are actually being evacuated. Oh my God. I just think, imagine someone knocking on your door. It's like if it's not floods, it's fires, telling you to leave. And then you've got to pack what belongings you can. You've got to take your animals. It's terribly sad. I mean, I think the Spanish authorities, they are geared up for them because we do have them every year. To be fair, we do have. Oh, look, this is Madrid, for God's sake. This is. Oh, hang on, no, I don't want to. I want to read the. I want to read the article to you. Oh, is there no article? So yeah, wildfires rage across southern Europe as temperatures top 40 degrees. Well, they certainly topped 40 degrees this week. And as I say, I think it's set to continue at least to the weekend. So it says here at least 3 people have died, but I think only one person's died in Spain. With one person is one too many, isn't it? But yeah, dozens of wildfires across parts of southern Europe, forcing thousands of people from their homes. Red heat alerts have been issued in Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, and the Balkans. And Spain's weather service, AMET, said temperatures could reach 44 degrees in Seville and Cordoba, and southern Portugal could also hit 44. So it says in Spain, an equestrian centre employee died after suffering severe burns in Tres Cantos near Madrid, where winds drove flames near houses. Very sad. So Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said on Tuesday that rescue services are working tirelessly to extinguish the fires. So he's really unpopular at the moment because he's gone on holiday. He's on holiday. He's in Portugal or somewhere, so everyone's going mad about that. We are at extreme risk of forest fires. Please be very cautious, he added in a post on X. But, Pedro Sanchez, it's like, as I say, 50% of the country think he's great and the other 50% think he isn't. So, in Castile and Leon, almost 4,000 people evacuated and more than 30 blazes reported, with one threatening the UNESCO-listed Las Medullas, renowned for its ancient gold mines. Another 2,000 people were evacuated from hotels and homes near the tourist hotspot of Tarifa in the southern region of Andalusia. I've been there to Tarifa. It's very nice. It's very popular with people who like paragliding. And it's windy there. It's like right near the border to Portugal. And there's always a lot of wind. That's probably what's made the fires threaten hotels, etc., but all the wind. So because of the wind, and it's the Atlantic Sea there as well, it's very popular with paragliders and all that kind of thing. So almost 1,000 soldiers were deployed to battle wildfires around the country, Spain's National Military Emergency Unit said on Tuesday. And in neighbouring Portugal, firefighters battled 3 large wildfires, with the most serious near Trancoso. I don't know that place in Portugal. I only really know Praia da Luz when I went there on location. So just wanted to tell you about that, and I want to say thank you to all of you that contacted me and asked that I was okay, hope that I was okay, etc. Thank you for that. Okay. I didn't miss anyone coming in, did I? So now we're going to talk about Rachel Morin. That's what we're going to say. So Rachel Morin, we covered Rachel's case, didn't we, from right from the beginning. 2 years ago, Rachel was walking along, or we don't know if she was walking or jogging around the Martin Parr Trail in Maryland in the USA, when she was just taken and brutally killed by this guy. I'm not going to say his name, but his name is on there. He has gone into the hellhole. I did do a video of him going into the hellhole because he was finally, is this the one? Yeah. He was finally caught after going on the run. He's went all over America. He'd already killed someone in his native Ecuador. He tried 4 times to get over the frontier, what's the word? Gosh, why I can't think of the word. Over the border into the USA, and I think it was on the 4th attempt he did manage to do it illegally. Got over there illegally, and off he went to Los Angeles first of all. Attacked a woman and a young girl there. That's where he left his DNA, or one of the places that he left his DNA. Next time he turned up, of course, we don't know what he did along the way, but the next time he turned up was right over the other side of America when he attacked Rachel Morin in Maryland. And he left his DNA there as well. So they were able to see that this attack in Los Angeles, it was the same DNA as the attack on Rachel. And, you know, they were able to link up those 2 crimes, even though they were so far away from each other. And finally, due to genetic genealogy through Othram. And, you know, I don't know if you know about Othram. That's the agency, isn't it? Let me get up their post because they made a post about it. Yeah, Othram. They're the agency, Othram Tech, that I'm following. I'm following them on Twitter. It's very, very, very interesting. They are. And they've helped to solve a lot of cases. Not only, you know, like old cold cases, you know, where bodies have not been identified even. You know, so Othram is slowly ploughing through these, if you like, with, you know, the police are using them. So Othram Tech, join our mission to revolutionise how forensic cases are solved, justice is served and families are mended. And it meant, here we go, this is their post about Rachel's case. Just now, the man who raped and murdered Rachel Morin was sentenced to life without parole. And like the Idaho student murders, this was a real-time active case. And we need this technology deployed for all active violent crimes and threats to public safety. And they made this post honoured that Othram could assist Harford County Sheriff's Office and FBI to help identify the suspected rapist and murderer of Rachel Morin. We should be deploying this tech for active cases. Serial predators continue to harm others till caught. There's no doubt that this man, Victor, he would have carried on killing, hurting, raping. You know, he's only 23 years old and he's already murdered 2 women and brutally attacked 2 others. As far as we know, you know, he may have done a lot more. So Othram is a fantastic, you know, as I say, I follow them, and quite often they'll come up with, they say, oh, like this: honoured that Othram could assist the Yavapai County Office of the Medical Examiner in identifying a 2015 John Doe as Michael Wayne Mest. So imagine, you know, your loved one's gone missing years ago. You know, this is 10 years ago, but they've solved cases from much further back. Here's a 2008 one that say they don't solve the case. What they solve is who the person is. So these are people who would have been John Doe's or Jane Doe's, and they have managed to bring at least some resolution to their loved ones. It is heartbreaking to find out that they are deceased, of course. But at least then you find out what's happened to them. That's so important. And then the police start the investigation then, don't they? Whether they've died in suspicious circumstances. It's for the police to take it any further than that, of course. But what the Othram do is they help with this genetic genealogy and that's how Rachel Morin's killer finally was brought to book, because his DNA, it was linked to his relatives, and it all sort of came together in that way. And although there was other evidence, circumstantial evidence, it's funny, I was thinking about it, with a murder, a lot of it is circumstantial evidence, isn't it? There's a lot of talk about the Delphi murders. I want to do a video on that soon, because Richard Allen's wife has come out on a documentary and spoke, and of course she's still in denial. She thinks he's innocent, and a lot of people say, oh well, it's circumstantial evidence, but most murders are solved with circumstantial evidence, because nobody's there to actually watch the murder taking place, are they? So it'd be rare. So what the police departments have to do, the investigative teams, they have to put together it won't be just one thing, maybe with DNA, but of course there was no DNA in the Delphi murders, which is what a lot of, personally, I think there was no DNA because he was DNA aware, and he put those girls in the river and washed off all the DNA. That's what I think. But there was other circumstantial evidence, and of course the fact he confessed it many times. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that in this video, but we will talk about it. Circumstantial evidence is just as valid as any evidence, if there's enough of it. That one thing is not enough. We saw that even with the Erin Patterson mushroom murders. It wasn't just one thing that convicted Erin, was it? It was all the things all put together. But nobody was actually there in her kitchen watching her put the death cap mushrooms in the beef Wellington. So circumstantial evidence sometimes, of course, that's all you've got. And her DNA obviously was all over everything, because it was her dehydrator, and it was her kitchen, and though we never found the plates, of course, we don't know what happened to the plates. So circumstantial evidence should not be dismissed as not being important. It's very important. Sometimes that's all that's all you've got. You're not going to have a video of somebody actually killing somebody, or rarely you're going to actually have that, are you? So anyway, so he was caught, he's been sentenced, and that's what we're just going to look at. We're going to look at a couple of things on Facebook. Now, first thing is I want to show you. This is Rachel's daughter. Now, I think I'm fine showing this because it's been shown publicly by Rachel's ex-partner, the father of Faye. This is Faye, her oldest daughter, who is now 20. And she is now a mother as well. So Rachel is a grandma, but she never got to see in this life. She never got to see her grandchild. But anyway, so Faye is 20 now. And let's have a look at the post that's been put on. Faye is seeking an attorney willing to represent her pro bono in a wrongful death suit against Victor Hernandez. Her goal is to win a monetary judgment so she can place a lien on Victor Hernandez's prison account, preventing him from ever having even a single penny for the rest of his life. This would stop Victor from purchasing even basic comfort items from the commissary, making it so he cannot so much as buy a Raymond seasoning packet. If you are an attorney willing to help, please contact me to discuss. This is Matt McMahon, Rachel's partner, from quite a while ago, but they were on good terms. And Faye is Rachel's oldest daughter, who's 20 years old now. Feel free to share this and help Faye make Victor's life a little more uncomfortable. And good, yeah, because sometimes you do think, like in the commissary, at the end of the day, in the commissary, if you've got money, like someone like Erin Patton or anyone whose family send them money, or if they haven't got any money, maybe their family send them money, they can make their lives more comfortable, can't they? They can buy things, and you don't want their lives to be comfortable. Why should their life be comfortable? Rachel hasn't even got a life, never mind a comfortable life now. So, good for Faye, and I hope she manages to do that. I really do hope she manages to do that. But anyway, just wanted to tell you about that. Now, there's something else I wanted to show you. Let me just... I want to show you the official statement that has been released from the Hartford Sheriff's Department. Remember Sheriff Jeff, my sheriff? Let's have a look at his. So this has been shared by Decipher Podcast, very good podcast. And let's have a look what he had to say. So this is Sheriff Gaylor. He's the one that was in charge of the investigation as far as Maryland was concerned. And he was very specific that what he wanted. Because, Victor is still wanted in El Salvador, of course, and in Los Angeles. But I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he'd be staying there. What the sheriff wanted was him to be incarcerated there in Maryland, so he knew exactly where he was at all times. There's a problem is if he goes to El Salvador, they sort of lose control of him a bit. I mean, I don't think he would be released in El Salvador, but you just don't know, do you? So I think what Sheriff Jeff wanted was him to know exactly where he was, and that he wasn't going anywhere, So let's see what he had to say in his statement. Last week marked 2 years since Rachel Morin's life was stolen, a brutal loss that continues to inflict immeasurable pain on her children, mother, siblings, and everyone who loved her. The grief they carry is unfathomable, and the void left in their lives can never be filled. Today's sentencing of Rachel's murderer to a life sentence without the possibility of parole, a second life sentence, and an additional 40 years means he should never walk freely again. This sentence delivers justice, but it is not closure. There remains a difficult road to healing. I hate that word closure, to be honest. I prefer a resolution, or one part of peace. There's no closure when you lose someone. It never ends, does it? Really? I mean, it's closure, I suppose, in the sense of they don't have to think about him anymore. There's no more court hearings and things like that. But not on grief. On grief, there is no closure. We stand with the Morin family committing to honouring Rachel's memory. The sentencing in Rachel Morin's tragic murder highlights the strength of our justice system. I'm deeply grateful to our deputies, partner agencies, and the Hartford County State's Attorney's Office for their tireless work and commitment to justice. Their efforts bring a sense of peace to Rachel's family and restore confidence in our community's safety. Communities are never completely safe. You know, at the end of the day, people, I think you'd be safe going on the Mar and Par trail now, because there's been all these, what they've put up now on that trail are all these CCTV cameras, AI CCTV cameras. So I would imagine you're safe, but you're never 100% safe from twonks, are you? But all really you can do is you can be as aware as possible, and you know, the law enforcement agencies, etc., they have to try their best to make places safe for us. And it's interesting because it's still not 100% certain yet whether Rachel was targeted especially, you know, or whether that horrible man was just waiting for any woman to walk past, you know, like a crime of opportunity. There is some talk that he had photos of Rachel on his phone. He certainly had photos of Rachel on his phone after she died. But there is some talk, that's never been confirmed as far as I know, that there were photos on his phone from before she died. Did he target Rachel? Did he follow her? Did he know her routine? Because he lived, you know, right there in the vicinity. Not that it makes any difference. Unfortunately, Rachel is still dead, you know, whichever way it is. But to me, I find it particular. Did he stalk her, or was this a crime of opportunity? But anyway, what really matters is he's never going to be able to do it to any other woman. So this moment is not just about accountability, it is about honouring Rachel's memory, reaffirming our promise to every resident of Harford County. We remain steadfast in our mission to protect, to serve, and to stand against those who seek to do harm. Now, of course, this is one of those cases like the Lake and Riley case that brought into, what can I say, that was used effectively by Donald Trump in his campaign, his presidential campaign, because of all the talk about illegal immigrants. And you know, you can understand people would be angry because, you know, Victor had already killed in his own country, but he did sneak across the border. But and he did try 3 other times, but he was either removed or not allowed in. And then the 4th time he managed. So a lot of people are blaming it on open border policies and that. I don't know enough about it, you know, to say that, but I know the sheriff does think that. So this case highlights national public safety failures. The kill across the border illegally after reportedly committing a violent crime in El Salvador, then murdered an innocent American mother. Rachel's death is a tragic result of weak border policies under the past presidential administration. So, Sheriff Jeff is obviously a Trump supporter. We must do better. Stronger border security and smarter policies are essential to protect our communities. We owe it to Rachel, her family, and every American to prevent such tragedies. Well, you know, that's a political statement, and, you know, some people will agree with it, some people won't. And that's Sheriff Jeff, what he thinks. So, you know, he has to be respected in that. Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about the sentencing. It was a good sentence. Obviously, you know, no sentence will bring Rachel back. That is the tragedy of it all. But if it brings the family some peace, at least some kind of peace, some kind of resolution, to know that that horrible man won't be out there again doing it to anybody else. You know, it's something, I suppose. And yeah, just, you know, they don't have the death penalty in Maryland, but And I don't believe in the death penalty. I hope this guy suffers. I hope he suffers every day while he's in prison. Oh, and it's important to say actually that one of Rachel's brothers did forgive him. When he gave his victim impact statement, he forgave him. You know, we had this with the Idaho 4 as well. One of the members of family forgave Brian Koberger. That's. I really want to look at that. We've looked at forgiveness occasionally in videos, and that it's a very emotive subject, isn't it? Could you forgive somebody who killed your loved one? You know, could you, or do people do it for their own peace of mind? You know, sometimes I remember watching the sentencing of the Green River killer, the victim's impact statement that made him cry and actually forced some emotion out of him, because he was like the Koberger type, and Victor showed no emotion whatsoever. He refused to give a statement. He thanked the judge for offering him the chance to give a statement, but he didn't want to say anything. So he didn't apologise. He didn't take responsibility for his actions. But in the Green River killer trial, sentencing, one of the families of the victim stood up and forgave him. And the Green River killer had shown no emotion, right? And he killed a lot of people. I mean, he's one of the most prolific serial killers ever. He'd not shown any emotion until that point. And when this guy started forgiving him, he started crying. And I thought, gosh, why? You know, why has that made it? All those people saying, like, you know, all the other victims, their impact statement, how terrible it is, how it's affected their lives, you know, what horrible person he is, blah, 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 saying what they thought from the heart. And then one person stands up and forgives him and is reduced to a blubbering wreck. You know, it's odd, isn't it, how they have these, you know, why would forgiveness make him cry when all the other things that people were saying to him, which were true, the horrible things that he'd done and the horrible person he was, didn't make him cry? And he only started crying when someone forgave him. It's quite odd, isn't it? You know, how... now, when Brian Koberg was forgiven at his sentencing hearing by one of the family members, he didn't start crying. I mean, he's the weirdest man, isn't he? He's like, he looked at those victims' families right in the face as they were talking, and he looked at them like they were specimens. You know, he's like in a jar. That's what it reminded me of. And he got angry occasionally. You could see that he was clenching his jaw. We haven't even had a chance to look at that yet, but we will look at it one day. He got really angry, didn't he, when one of the victims, I think it was her sister, you know, really had a good go at him and, exposed him for the small man that he is. But yeah, he just sort of looked at those victims' family like they were specimens in a jar. He is a true creepy guy. Victor is a creepy guy in a different way. Don't know about Victor's like this. He's like an animal type to me, and he's quite cunning that's an insult to animals. He's quite cunning in his way. I don't think he's, you know, clever, but he's cunning, and he showed a cunningness to escape for as long as he did. Whereas I think Brian Koberger, he's like, what is it? He's like, he thinks he's superior. He's one of those who thinks he's superior, but actually he's not. I don't think Victor the Viper, Rachel's killer, I don't think he thought he was superior. He's just like your basic, sort of just working on basic instinct all the time. Don't think he thought he was cleverer than anybody else. And he probably got away with it longer because of that. He literally was just Whereas I think Brian Koberger, of course, he got caught quite quickly, didn't he? Because he thought he was too superior. Sometimes you can think you're too superior and you think, oh, you're cleverer than the police. I don't think Victor thought he was cleverer than the police. I don't think he even thought that way. He just acted on base animal instinct. And, maybe that's why he got away with it, because you can't think like those people. And, of course, they're travelling all over the place. It's funny, isn't it? Because how did he manage to do all that travelling? I don't know. And illegal. So it feels like that once you get into America, then, is it? Once you're in there, you can go anywhere. Don't the states have their own borders? Maybe they should be looking at that as well. Because why should you be able to, surely to go into a state, you should have to show some identification or something, but I don't know. Anyway, I don't know the answer, but yeah. So I just wanted to, hi UT, I just wanted to talk about that, about about Victor's sentencing. He got the strongest sentence that he could have done. So that's good. That's good. Doesn't bring Rachel back, unfortunately, but at least it means that nobody else will ever be, no other woman anyway. I mean, he might end up hurting someone in prison. Who knows what will happen to him in prison? Or he might end up getting hurt. But he'll be put in with other people like him. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know that he will get hurt in prison, really, to be honest. Okay, so that was talk about Rachel. So now we're going to talk about, the John George case. So let me just change over the picture. God bless Rachel, and I hope all her family, her friends, anyone who loved her, I hope they found some peace in that sentencing at least. So now we're going to go on and talk about this case. John George. Now, John George was 37 years old. He's from Northern Ireland. He came to Spain on holiday to the Orihuela Costa, and he apparently booked a flight to go home, though people are saying it wasn't him who booked the flight to go home. But he just never got on that flight, and he disappeared, didn't he? Disappeared again, people do, but of course they don't. They're always somewhere. He disappeared into thin air. His family were frantic. Then there were things said, they seemed to get wind of the fact somebody had said that he had been killed. Now, John George, he wasn't like, I don't think anyway, he was like a big gangster or anything like that. But, when he was young, he'd got into trouble. He'd become an addict, and he'd got involved in a lot of things he shouldn't have got involved in. He wasn't an angel. He wasn't a saint. His family were the first to admit that. But at the end of the day, John George was their brother, their son, they had two young boys as well, two children, a brother, a cousin, etc. So, he was all those things, and all those people loved him despite his faults. And yeah, maybe he wasn't an angel, but he had faults, as most people do, and some people's faults are worse than others. But nobody's saying that he lived a correct lifestyle. He didn't, but he did not deserve what happened to him, and certainly his family did not deserve what they had to go through to find their son's body. So I think they were basically told that he was deceased, and the family came over to Spain to search for his body. I think right from day one, they knew they were looking for a body. They didn't think they were going to find his dad, Billy George. I think he sort of tugged at all our heartstrings, didn't he? Because he was just wanted to find his son. I could get upset now. He just wanted to find his body so he could take him home and give him a proper burial. Anyway, worse than that, believe it or not, even was that they were led on a sort of given red herrings. They were led on a wild goose chase as to where his body actually was. They were searching miles away from actually where the body was. They got a team over from Northern Ireland to help them search. All in the wrong place. They were searching in the wrong place all the time. And they were searching around the sort of Orwella Costa area, beach areas, etc. And when John's body was finally found by the Guardia Civil, which we're still not sure, did the Guardia Civil find him? Did one of the people that's involved in the whole case around it, did they tip off the Guardia Civil? I don't think it's completely clear. Or was he found, by the Guardia Civil? Guardia Civil won't tell you anything until the court case, which God knows when that'll be. We won't get anything out of the Guardia Civil. But anyway, he was found. And he was found in a private finca in Rochales, which is miles away from where the George family was searching for John. So they would never have found him. It's very sad that, even worse, isn't it? Not only, his life had been taken and he'd been quite brutally murdered and he'd been stripped, he'd been humiliated, he'd been stabbed, he'd been shot. It was horrible. And because of this, how long, I think it was about a month before the body was found. You couldn't have an open coffin. That's an important thing, I think, in Ireland, in Northern Ireland. Anyway, they got him back. That's the main thing, I suppose. The main thing is he was not still lying out there like, he had been left lying out there like a piece of rubbish. And now at least he's been laid to rest in a dignified manner. And of course, the court case is, ongoing. So there were 2 people arrested. And one, of course, is Johnny Smith. He's in prison in Alicante as we speak. And the reason for that he's not been allowed bail is because he went immediately on the run, didn't he? And he was finally caught. He went off and married his girlfriend. Then he was finally caught in Portugal. So, because of that, he's innocent till proven guilty, as is everybody. But the fact that he did a runner once will have, doesn't bode well when the judge is deciding whether to give him any bail, is it? So he's been refused bail. So he is in prison in Alicante, but he's enjoying conjugal visits with his now wife. That's probably why they got married, so that he could have conjugal visits. And also because as his wife, she is not required to give testimony against him. But there's another character, isn't there? Michael Malley, he was arrested, but he has been released on bail. He's thought to be like a witness, but not to be the actual person who pulled the trigger. But again, wait till it gets to court. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Somebody killed John George. Somebody's got to pay for it, and we don't know what evidence the police have got. That will all come out at the trial, won't it? Now, in the meantime, there's this other guy who, well, I'm sort of loath to call him a witness, but he sort of is. He was called in by the Guardia Civil to make a statement. And here he is with Johnny Smith. This was apparently just pictures messing around, but there were other pictures of Dan where he had bruises and cuts on his face, etc. The thing is, he is an addict. And he was here in Spain, and if you watch my channel regularly, I have been worrying about him because, you know, he was like a loose cannon. He was sort of wandering around, seemed like, you know, just, you know, he made that awful TikTok video where he was actually taking drugs live, and you know, he would just, and he was sort of showing all these tablets that he had, and you were worried that he was actually going to do something to himself. He was all over the Facebook pages here in Spain, in the area, breaking into various bars, etc. You know, he's just like a lost soul, really, but getting into more and more trouble all the time. And I've said right from the beginning, I saw him once as I was driving over that way, and you know, he could tell he was just completely out of it. The thing is, he needed help, but it was like, who's going to help him? You know, who's going to help him? And then it culminated with him being stabbed, actually stabbed in the neck, in a not far away from where all this happened with John George. Some guy, an older guy, stabbed him in the neck, and he had to go to hospital because he nearly died. You know, this is the dangerous life he was living. Anyway, he's then apparently, and I don't know if the Spanish authorities helped him. I mean, his problem as well is he doesn't speak Spanish. So there is help for drug addicts in Spain. There are places you can go. There are rehabs. There are all those things. But if you don't speak Spanish, you can't. And I don't know if he was even in Spain legally. You know, is he a resident, or you know, you can't just come willy-nilly to Spain nowadays, not after Brexit. So, you know, I don't know what his residency situation was, or what the Spanish authorities could or couldn't do for him. But anyway, apparently, according to this news item, and this is what I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad, to be honest, because, you know, he's another guy who, like John, probably went the wrong way in life. But you know what? He's still quite a young guy. You know, you wouldn't like to think of him dying in the, you know, just being, because he was stabbed in the neck and just left to bleed to death in the street. You wouldn't like to think of that happening to anyone, would you? You know, at the end of the day, and he apparently knows something about this case, so it's going to be important to the case. Apparently he was called into the courts to make a statement, but he was too out of it. He got thrown out in the end. They said he just couldn't make the statement because you know, he was just not compos mentis. You know, and I wouldn't like to think of anyone just lying bleeding in the street and just left to lie bleeding in the street. Anyway, he was taken to hospital and he survived. And now, apparently, he's in prison, according to the Sunday World, this is. I know some people say it's a bit of a rag or whatever, but anyway, top witness in John George murder trial, jailed after near fatal knife attack. I mean, he says he's now behind bars in Magaberry prison. I don't know anything about prisons in Northern Ireland, so is he safer there, or maybe he's not? I don't know. Maybe he's not safe there. You know, that's possible as well, isn't it? Because, you know, you're not necessarily safe in prison. Sorry, I'm just putting a few windows down so that I don't get confused with what I'm showing next. More windows than Buckingham Palace, as they say. Ooh, I don't want to put that one down. I just want to turn it down. Right, I'm nearly there. Yeah, so now behind bars. I mean, it was an accident waiting to happen. Look, Johnny's always smiling like this every photo that you see of him. So Dan, he had a lot of bruises. Now, did Johnny do that to him? I don't know. And they said they were just messing about, but I don't know. Anyway, a Belfast man named as a top witness in the murder of John George in Spain has sensationally returned home and is currently in jail, we can reveal. Dan McMeekin, who was viciously stabbed in June in the Costa Blanca, returned quietly back into the country in the first few days of July, just days after he got out of hospital in Spain where he was recovering from an attempt on his life. The 29-year-old is now behind bars in Magaberry prison after he handed himself over to the authorities and admitted a couple of outstanding theft charges and possession of drugs dating back to September 2023. He's got to be better off in prison, hasn't he? I mean, he was here in Spain. I don't know where he was living, but he was robbing places. You know, he was caught on CCTV. It was over all the Facebook pages. You know, he could see as clear as day it was him. So it wasn't going to end well for him here in Spain, was it? So, you know, it's good that he's gone back, I think, personally. But anyway, let me know what you think. What do you think? Do you think he's done the right thing to go back and sort of, you know, at least hopefully be being looked after there? At least he's got roof over his head. You know, I don't know how that's going to work with the drug thing. Is he going to be given rehabilitation, or is he more likely to carry on taking drugs in prison? I don't know. I don't know what the prisons are like. So anyway, Meekin knew John George well and was in a bar in Spain where it's claimed a plan was hatched to attack the Belfast man, who was later found murdered. John George, a father of two, was shot and his body left in a rural area in the Alicante region around December the 14th, but it wasn't discovered for several weeks. So yeah, his family spent Christmas and New Year looking for his body in the wrong place, searching through, you know, God knows what. But they had no chance of ever finding him. He wasn't anywhere near where they were searching. Anyway, supporters of John George and his family believe that Dan McMeekin has information relevant to the investigation. However, he has never been arrested or charged with anything. In January, Belfast lawyers acting for the family of John George named him as being one of two men who was due to appear in court in Spain, not as suspects, but to tell the court what they knew about the lead up to the murder. It's not clear what Meekin's return home means for the murder investigation, or whether he will be required to return to Spain to give evidence in the event of a murder trial. Czech national Michael Malley was arrested earlier this year and appeared in court as a murder suspect, but was released on bail and has yet to be charged with any offence. Because in Spain, they charge you when it comes to the actual trial. But he was given bail because he must have cooperated with them to get bail. Johnny Smith didn't get bail because he'd already gone on the run once. Meantime, Newton Abbey man Johnny Smith, 27, was arrested in Portugal, having gone on the run before being extradited to Spain, where he has also been named as a suspect and held on remand in prison. He has not yet been charged with any offence. They won't get charged until the actual court case. After the attempt on McMeekin's life, speculation was rife that he may have been attacked by the criminal gang behind the murder of John George, and the attack may have been a warning to him not to give evidence. Well, that's it. So was John George's murder a result of, of organised crime, or was it some sort of personal dispute? We don't know, do we, really yet? Not really. So Spanish police told the media that McMeekin knew his attacker but refused to name him. But I think he was arrested, wasn't he, in the end? Let's have a look. But he'll be out on bail, I would imagine. I'm sure his attacker eventually was. Yeah. Can't find it. Yeah, someone was arrested. Somebody was arrested. A 58-year-old Irishman was arrested on June the 30th. And this man that was arrested for the attack on Dan has previous convictions for homicide and drug dealing. So apparently, poor Dan, he was, caught short taking a leak, and that's when he was crept up on and stabbed in the neck with a box cutter blade. Ay, ay, ay. So apparently he was found in a local park on June the 30th. So I don't know where he is now. Has he been released on bail? So he's got a criminal record in Ireland for homicide with a firearm and drug trafficking. So, oh no, they released him. So he was brought before Orwella Court of Instruction number 3, ordered his provisional release with a restraining order against the victim. What do they mean released? I don't know. How can people that have murdered someone be just wandering around? In Spain, they all come to Spain. It says here, on June the 30th, a 58-year-old Irishman who Spanish cops claimed had convictions for homicide and drug dealing was arrested by the civil guard for the attempted murder of McMeekin and was brought before a Spanish court. And sources say McMeekin was in a terrible state and came home to try and sort his life out. Well, I think it's now or never for Dan, don't you? Literally, Dan, if you want to literally do what really, genuinely want to sort your life out, you're running out of time to do it. So you need to do it now, don't you? Dan came home from Spain after the stabbing, which obviously really scared him, said a source. When he left for Spain last year, he was facing a couple of court cases. And so he knew if he came back to Belfast, he'd have to deal with that first. And that's what a lot of people do, you see, that they escape whatever cases, whatever things are going on, where they are, whether it's Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, and they flee to Spain, because they don't want to face the music. But, if you're still getting into trouble and things, you're probably better off facing the music in a country that you can understand what people are saying to you, for God's sake, because anyway, he's gone, and I'm glad he's gone, for him, as well as, it's good, the less criminals in Spain, the better. Dan's not a bad fella. He's a really sad case. I must admit, I felt that bit with Dan when I was watching it. I did feel a sympathy for him, because you can see that, he's not exactly happy, is he? And you've seen the videos he made after the murder of John George, where he's clearly feeling terrible about what happened. The pressure in Spain was getting too much, between almost being murdered and also the Spanish police were after him for a spate of break-ins where he was caught on CCTV several times. Believe me, in that area in Orwella Costa, everyone knows about Dan McMeekin. He wanted to come back and try and get his life back on track, as he's still a young man. Yeah, he's still got time, exactly. So he came home quietly at the start of July, and he stayed with family in Lisbon. didn't leave the house pretty much for a couple of weeks. He then handed himself into the police a couple of weeks later, and he was remanded into custody until he appeared in court to plead guilty to some shoplifting charges. So here's Johnny Smith with John George, of course. Now that's it. Dan doesn't want to end up like John, does he? He doesn't want to end up, in a lemon grove, like shot and stabbed and just left to rot there. John is always smiling, isn't he? He's always got a big smile on his face. He's in Magaberry, but he'll be out soon, and hopefully he can get the help he needs to get off the drugs that ruined his life. I hope so. People do turn their lives around. There are people that do come off drugs. It's hard, isn't it? Once, obviously the answer is try not to go on them in the first place, but it's easier said than done, isn't it? Sometimes it's the environment that you grow up in. But for the grace of God, if it could be me, it could be you, it could be our children, our grandchildren. They grow up in environments, they get into bad, in with bad friends, etc. Or they start off just thinking, it's all right, just take, one sort of drug, and then it leads to others. Same with alcohol. You say, just have a drink, it's fine, but you don't. Some people, they just go down that road, don't they? So he was subsequently transferred to court following his arrest and was remanded in prison. And on the 30th of July, he was sentenced to 2 months imprisonment. So do you know what? Really, when you think about it, so he fled, went to Spain, got involved in all that, went through all that, was stabbed in the neck and nearly died. And he could have just gone and done his 2 months imprisonment, for God's sake. So according to court documents, he appeared at Lagenside Magistrates Court in Belfast, where he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of theft and a 3rd charge of being in possession of a Class C drug. On September the 19th, 2023, he stole a bottle of Dior perfume to the value of £135, belonging to Boots, Donegal Place, Belfast. And on the same day, he stole a Fred Perry hoodie to the value of £100, belonging to JD Sports in Castle Place, Belfast. Well, it's not. Not that I'm saying that the shoplifting is good. Of course it isn't. But it's not like murder, is it? He was jailed for 2 months in total for the 2 theft charges, but he was further convicted of unlawfully being in possession of a Class C drug, pregabalin, on the same day as the shoplifting spree. Yeah, there's Johnny Smith again. Miss Meakin, who is known to be extremely vulnerable due to substance abuse issues, became a target of social media trolls and amateur investigators. Yeah, he got involved with one amateur investigator, let's say, who then totally threw him under a bus, but they do that to everyone they ever get connected with. After the murder of John George, he was identified as being someone who had crucial information about what happened to the Belfast man who went missing in December, and he had previously admitted online he should have contacted the family of John George before he was murdered. Well, of course he should. If he knew he was going to be murdered, he should have. And 2 weeks after John George's body was found, Belfast legal firm KRW Law said on January 31st, "We can confirm that summonses have issued for the attendance of 2 persons to answer inquiries in relation to the murder of Mr. George. We've been in touch with the authorities in connection with this latest development. We understand each person was originally due to appear at the preliminary court sitting in Torrevieja." Now, of course, he went, didn't he? And yeah, they're talking about Michael Malley and Dan McMeekin. He went, but he was too out of it. He couldn't they wouldn't take his statement because he was too far out of it. And then he posted that video, didn't he, where he was actually taking drugs on stream. He was responding to wild speculation on social media and named one TikToker who he felt was not telling the truth about him. That's a surprise. And what he knew or didn't know about John George. Slurring his words, he says, "I'm doing my best to help in so many ways. I am guilty of not telling the family sooner. I am vulnerable. This is breaking me. I have a heart. I do." We watched that video, didn't we? I thought it was very plaintive, to be honest. I'm not making excuses for him. He's done, it's bad what he's done, but I hope he can turn his life around. Because, it's the same with John George or anyone who gets involved in, goes down that bad way. Do you know what I mean? You've got to, if they're trying to turn their life around, you've got to give them support and hope that they can do it. So he also had domestic abuse offences. So, he's not been a very nice person, has he? But, well, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. So, picture what he can do. Pictures appearing to show him inside business premises late at night in Spain were shared widely. I've seen them there. Or there's nobody now, I'd say, in that area in Orihuela Costa, certainly. Maybe in other areas that doesn't know about Dan now and these videos. And he was identified by his tattoo on his hand, which was visible. Okay, so I just want, because we've been covering the John George case, I just wanted to give you that update. More will come out, of course, when the actual trial starts. Hi, Angel. Whenever that is. I mean, we're at Spain. I don't know when that trial will be. Literally, nothing's going to happen in August, that's for sure. So I don't know when the actual trial is going to be. We haven't had a date yet, as far as I know, anyway. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you about that. So, whoever did kill John George, and I don't think anybody thinks it was Dan who actually killed him, but could Dan have prevented it happening? That's the thing. So he is, he's an important witness. He's got information about the case, and I hope he does the right thing and goes forward, gets himself sorted out and goes forward and, helps resolve this case. So the last thing we're going to talk about is this girl. This is Amy Fitzpatrick, another Irish girl, came to Spain. This time she came to Spain with her mum and her stepdad. Let's see if I can find we'll see a photo of those of them in a moment when I'm telling you what. She came to Spain with her mum, her stepdad, and her brother, Dean. They lived in Mijas Costa, which is up near Malaga sort of way. And then one New Year's Day, Amy just disappeared, 15 years old, disappeared completely. She was on her way very short distance from her friend's house, where she'd stayed the night before, and poof, like in a puff of smoke, Amy disappeared, and there's not really been any more information really since then. Now, the police obviously searched for her in the beginning. As I say, I do know some things behind the scenes, but I can't talk about them yet, but it won't be long before I will be able to. Now, Amy's mum and stepdad came under a lot of scrutiny Well, yeah, that's fair enough, really, when you think about it, isn't it? That's what happens, isn't it? Someone goes missing, and then once the police sort of thought, oh, maybe this is a suspicious missing persons case, they look at the family first. I don't think that that's a bad thing. This is Audrey, her mum. I put these pictures next to each other because you can see Amy's eyes. You can see that Audrey, or I should say Amy, has got Audrey's eyes. You can see the resemblance. Now, she's come under a lot of speculation, and also her partner, Dave, we'll have a look at a picture of him in a moment. For years, ever since Amy disappeared, there's been speculation that they knew more about it, mainly due to the fact of Amy's phone was found at home. Now, you know what young people are like. They're not normally separated from their phones at all, are they? So they claim that she never made it home that night, but her phone was actually found. So I think that's the main reason. Also, the fact that Audrey's partner, Dave, he is a very violent man. You can't dress that up any other way, whether you believe that he had anything to do with Amy's disappearance or not. Violence follows this man around. He is a violent man. And of course, it culminated in Amy's brother, Dean, having an argument with him when they returned back to Ireland, in Ireland. They had an argument, and Dean ended up being stabbed by his stepfather. Though the stepfather, of course, said it was an accident. It was Dean who actually was the aggressor. He was trying to take the knife off Dean, and Dean ended up walking onto the knife. It was suicide. So, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. Depends what you want to believe, isn't it? It's only his word against Dean's, and Dean can't speak anymore because Dean died that day. And actually, Dave went on the run very briefly, but eventually gave himself up. And he was charged with manslaughter and found guilty. And he did his sentence and he came out. He was then involved in another violent altercation later on with a neighbour, a pensioner, who he headbutted in some silly argument at a barbecue, And that case came to nothing because in the end the neighbour didn't turn up at the court case and said, he's got nothing against Dave. Was he scared? The thing is, people are scared of Dave, I think, and Dave is a violent man. And, whatever, as I say, the truth about Amy or about anything else, he's been involved in a lot of violent altercations. Sorry, that's just the way it is. That's just the truth. I'm not making it up or anything. Hi, Yvonne. So, now, the reason I'm doing this video, I've done quite a few videos about Amy, but the news that's sort of coming out at the moment is that Amy's mum, Audrey, is very, very poorly in hospital. Now, first, before I show you that article, like the recent one, I want to just show you, because apparently even years ago when her son was killed, and she married her partner after her son was killed. So after her partner killed her son, whether it was manslaughter or not, who knows, but she married him after that. So her daughter's gone missing, her son's dead, and she married this partner that killed her son. Now, I'll let you make what you want of that, what you think of it. At the end of the day, it was her life to live, and she did what she did. But, what do you think of that? So what I want to show you first, though, is an article from after Dean died, where she was already ill with her liver. Now, she's a self-confessed, she was an alcoholic. So, she obviously, alcoholics have problems with their liver, don't they? So, Audrey, this is an article from 2014. Audrey Fitzpatrick, who looked frail on a visit to Dublin last month, has been told by doctors in Spain, but she must have been in Spain then, she has a deadly illness. Now, she doesn't look very well. I think it's the skin colour, isn't it, when people have a problem with their liver. So apparently this was her at the inquest into her son's death. And as I say, afterwards, she did marry Dave. Is it Dave McMahon, his name is? Anyway. So then doctors had told the mother of Amy Fitzpatrick she will die if she does not go under the knife for a liver transplant. And shattered Audrey Fitzpatrick, 45. So she was only 45 in this picture. Goodness me. Whose daughter Amy, 15, is missing and presumed dead in Spain, was told she has a deadly liver disease and needs an operation. Audrey, who is living with partner Dave Morin in Marbella, Spain, no, she was in Marbella then, was hit with the bad news after she was rushed to hospital with an illness last Thursday. And speaking from the hospital Costa del Sol, Mr. Morin said, "We've just been told the news. They told us she needs a new liver and she will die unless she gets a transplant." And Dave revealed that Audrey will be spending even more time in Ireland to receive treatment. So they went back to Ireland. They're currently living in Ireland. But I just wanted to point that out. So even in 2014, she was quite ill with her liver. And now it's being said, according to Dave, she's now 57. She looks, well, I was going to say she looks better on, which of course she was a lot younger on that picture. So according to Dave, her partner, she needs a miracle as she fights for life in hospital. Audrey Morin, 57, whose teenage daughter Amy vanished in Spain in 2008 and whose son Dean was killed by her now husband Dave Morin, is in a critical condition in hospital with liver failure. Now, it's very sad. Liver failure, it's a hard one. I mean, your liver can recover, can't it? Your liver can recover, but you must never drink alcohol again. If you've got that's what they say, if somebody gets to the point where they need a liver transplant. I mean, has she had a liver transplant? I mean, according to that last article, she was told she had to have a liver transplant, but we're now quite a few years on. So I find this picture really eerie because Amy, of course, has disappeared and is presumed dead somewhere, but nobody knows where. And Dean, he's been stabbed and killed by his stepdad, who was also the stepdad at the time that Amy went missing. But Audrey has stuck by him. She says she has no doubts, etc. Anyway. So apparently she's in a dire battle for her life in hospital, with her husband stating she needs a miracle to survive. Now, he has been under suspicion, of course, Dave, for such a long time. And I just want to say, he's never been, as far as Amy is concerned, he's never been charged with anything or, so if he hasn't had anything to do with Amy's disappearance, it's terrible, really, because he's been tainted with it. You can't help but think it, though, can you? With the best will in the world, especially because he's if he was like a man who didn't have any violent tendencies or, other things that had happened. Maybe you'd give him more the benefit of the doubt, but it's difficult, isn't it? When you know what his history is, it is difficult. And maybe he is innocent. And if he is innocent of having anything to do with Amy, then it's a shame that he's been put under all that scrutiny all those years. So, yeah, she's critically ill in hospital, suffering from liver failure. But her husband revealed to the Irish Mirror, expressed his hope his fighter wife will manage to pull through. Now, she has been a fighter, of course, and she's been through a lot. I mean, if you think if she is perfectly innocent, she's lost her daughter, she's lost her son, she's lived under suspicion along with Dave all these years. So, it's quite it's hard, isn't it? So you've got to, because we don't know anything else really, we have to think of it. So he has remained steadfast at Audrey's bedside, and he said that toxins from her failing liver have infiltrated her brain, and doctors have warned him she might never regain consciousness. They said she could wake up in 5 minutes or in a week's time, or she may not wake up at all. Dear me. But having said that, they haven't said that she's not going to wake up. If she wakes up, then we have to assess to see if there's any brain damage, they said. And if she wakes up and there's no damage, then we have to address the problem of liver failure. Audrey, who's previously opened up about her battle with liver disease in 2013, has faced a series of devastating personal tragedies, from the mysterious vanishing of her daughter to the manslaughter of her son. Oh, and alongside her husband's incarceration and his battle with cancer. Yeah, so he was in prison and he was diagnosed with cancer. And look at this picture. Amy left with her mother, Audrey. Amy was 12 in that picture, and Audrey was 35. So much promise, isn't it? I mean, Amy, poor Amy, she never got a chance to live her life at all, did she? 15 years old and gone who knows where. Where is Amy? Anyway, Dave Marn shared that Audrey is a true battler and he's holding on to hope that she will conquer this latest health scare. It's liver failure and the toxins are after going into her brain. She's critical. Her eyes opened about 2 days ago for the first time and she spoke just a little bit and I was elated. Then the doctors pulled me into the family room and said she's critical, but she's the best fighter I know and I hope she will pull through. I have fallen to my knees and I don't fall to my knees too easily. She's been through more than any man or woman I know in this world. I mean, she certainly has been through a lot. She's not conscious now. She's asleep, but she's breathing on her own. She struggled more than anyone I know, with Amy more so, but also with Dean and me, with cancer in prison. But Amy was the main. I could hear her howling at night. Nobody sees that. Pretty much every night she's howling, he continued. Marn also highlighted Audrey's unwavering search for clarity on what happened to Amy, as she tirelessly trawled the internet daily for answers. She hasn't stopped, she doesn't leave the house too much, but she's always on the internet trying to help parents of other missing kids. She has a contact in England and he shares videos of Amy that she watches. I can't watch them, but she does. That's like going into the ring with Tyson every day. I can't do it, but she does. And he expressed his frustration at what he perceives as a lack of support from the Gardaí or the government in the search for Amy over the past 17 years. I'm annoyed that Audrey has been doing this for 17 years alone, without any help from the government. They should hang their heads in shame. They've never once knocked on our door. She's paying with her life. It's disgusting. Hopefully she's not gone, but she's after giving her life with no help. So Amy was only 15 when she disappeared from the Mijas Costa area of Spain on New Year's Day 2008. Her last sighting was around 10 p.m. She left her friend Ashley Rose's house, headed towards her home where she lived with Audrey and stepfather. Her mobile phone was later. So this I think is the issue that has created suspicion, is the mobile phone was found in her bedroom. So everyone was saying, well, who would leave their mobile? Did she make it home? But her mother has consistently stated that she doesn't believe Amy took her phone with her when she disappeared. Audrey has also repeatedly shared that Amy called her on a landline on New Year's Eve to wish her a Happy New Year. This turned out to be their final conversation. Then Audrey was dealt another blow. On May 25, 2013, her son Dean Fitzpatrick, Amy's brother, was fatally stabbed by Marn at his flat in Burnell Square, Malahide in North Dublin. He handed himself over to the Gardaí the next day, recounting how he had taken a knife from Dean during a row about a bike, and that his stepson had then run into him, resulting in an accidental stabbing. In May 2015, while he was awaiting trial, he got married to Audrey, who stayed loyal to him despite the tragic loss of her son. I mean, let me know your thoughts. Do you think you could have done that? Your daughter's disappeared, now your son's dead. And then you marry this man. Marn received a 7-year sentence for Dean's manslaughter, but due to remission, he served only 5 years. And over the years, Audrey has spoken extensively to this paper about the incident, expressing that she misses Dean every day. You learn to live with it, I suppose, more in the last 10 years, but I don't think it will ever go away, she said in 2023. She also shared her belief that if she had been present in the Dublin flat where Dean was stabbed that day, perhaps the tragedy might have been avoided. Oh, it definitely would have been avoided if she would have been there. It's still crystal clear in my head. That night I was staying with my dad because he had Alzheimer's. God, so her dad's had that. She has been through the mill, that's for sure. And we used to do shifts with him. I couldn't leave my dad until I got someone else to mind him. Of course, it would just happen that one night when I wasn't in the apartment, she recounted. Things could have been different. Things would have been different had I been there, but I wasn't. It's all ifs and buts and maybes, and you can't change the past. No, you can't. So she has said herself that she thinks Amy is no longer alive. This, of course, is Amy. She's just a tiny little thing, isn't she? She's not around, said Audrey. I know she's not in my gut. She's also spoken about the substantial sums spent over the years in the quest to find Amy. You're talking 14 years of campaigning, hundreds of thousands easily. It went on eating, running the car, getting flights, staying in the hotel, going from here to there, leaflets, badges, bus stops, banners. More than 100,000, I can tell you. And if I had it today, I'd spend it again on the same thing. Some families are visited with, some families don't have any tragedy. And then other families seem to get visited with more tragedy than most. I mean, that's a lot of tragedy that Audrey's had to suffer. I don't know. I wasn't there when Amy disappeared. I don't know what happened to Amy. I wasn't there when Dean and Dave got into that argument. So, This is what I was saying right at the beginning of this video. When a murder takes place, it's only you've only got the word or an attack or an assault, or it's one person's word against the others. And if it's a murder, the other person is deceased. Dean couldn't give his side of the story, could he? So all we've got to go on is what Dave said, and it may be true. Exactly what Dave said. That it was Dean with the knife. He took the knife off Dean, and Dean ran onto the knife. It's possible. But, we don't have Dean's side of it. We only have Dave's side of it. And the only thing that I feel about it is he's a very violent man, whichever way you look at it. And then who headbutted his neighbour? Did the neighbour just put his head on Dave's forehead? You know what I mean? It's like, didn't he break his nose, I think? I mean, he is a violent man, and he couldn't dispute that. He is violent. Maybe a lot of it is to do with alcohol. And maybe as far as Audrey is concerned, maybe he's been a bloody brilliant husband. I don't know. But Audrey, they seem sort of really, they stayed together all this time despite the tragedy. So, don't know, does that mean that they've got this unbreakable bond? I don't know. Anyway, as always, let me know what you think. I'm going now because I feel like I've been talking for quite a long time. I'm going to split this video up into 3 and release the shorter videos for people who don't like the waffle. But I'll be back soon, and don't forget, what day is it today? Wednesday. So tomorrow night, Members Live, we're having a music quiz and a disco. So why not become a member? It's to celebrate my birthday. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you, as always, for watching. I think everyone's just too hot. Oh, what happened there? My screen just went off, but it's come back again. We're on 38 degrees here on my computer now. Where are we now? I think it will definitely get to 40 degrees today. But anyway, there you go. You think I'd be used to it by now, but actually it gets worse, not better. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Rachel. Thank you for caring about John George and what happens in that case. And thank you for caring about Amy. Now, I hope her mum, I'm going to say a prayer for her mum. I hope she does recover. She deserves to find out what happened to Amy, doesn't she? But, she feels that Amy is no longer with us. I just don't know what to say, really, but I hope she gets better. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you for everything. Take care, and may your God go with you. Bye.